we're going to go to the big Y gantry, or the Y arm, or whatever you want to call it. Now this guy is going to end up being right here. And we've got bar ends that we have to install here and here. But then on the front is going to be our extruder and all of that. So we've got a little bit of work to do to get our extruder together and everything mounted to the front of this. And then we'll bring this in a moment, and it'll all come together. And yeah, it gets a little bit finicky. But let's see, how do we want to handle this? I know I'm going to need this. This is pretty easy, and I think I actually call it out pretty, yeah, I do. I call it out right off the bat in the instructions. So just because it's low-hanging fruit. So the sensor is going to go right here. Now, I tried M4s on this, and you can get M4s onto it, but M3 allow a much easier fit. So once again, M3 16 screws, and I don't think we call out, no. Sometimes I've seen guys put these together with washers, but not this time. I don't think it's needed here. Yeah, so keep in mind there's two M316s on your sensor. You don't know where that sensor belongs yet, so I'm just putting it on where it looks nice, and I'm leaving it finger tight, but you will be able to set this to a more appropriate height later. And I can cheat. It looks like it's right towards the top, maybe middle to top. So this is probably going to be fairly close. So I'll go ahead and tighten it down a little bit. So that's that. Now I'm going to put that aside because the next thing on my list is the extruder. And that is a little bit involved. Put some of these tools out of the way. So, my injection molded extruder. Z sensor is done. All right. Well, this little beaut came about from, making a lot of different extruders, and we used to make everything in machine parts, and then slowly I started to realize, well, injection molding does have its place. So this is a mold that actually, it's all in one shot. I forget how it looks on the mold, but it's something like that. It all happens at once. It comes out on a sprue, and it's all split in half, so then you put it together. So there's a few little screws that we have to put it together with that are in this. So it's pretty fun. So the first two screws all put together are on this arm just to hold it together, here and here. And I believe we even did such a good job. Brian did this mold, did a really good job. It's so cool because like on the first half, it's just smooth, and you push the screw in. Then you can tighten it. So it kind of holds itself in place with pins and everything. Now don't strip this out. I wonder if I'm using the wrong. It's always important to get the right screwdriver. You're going to frustrate yourself if you have one like I do here that's damaged. It's terrible. But this one has good form and makes my job a lot easier. Okay, there's that. There's another one here. It's going to hold the back part of it together. So there's that. And now, two little ones that go here and here. To hold all of this together. There we go. Now, plastites are made to go into plastic, like I said earlier. So when you feel them stop, you can try to give them a little bit of extra nudge. They're not going to move much more. And I've heard it say that plastites will actually, you'll strip the head of the screw before you strip the plastic out with the plastite. It's pretty crazy. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. All right, this idler mounts on a little spacer, and we've got one, what is that, M4 12 millimeter? Looks like this is all in the kit here. So we're just using up what's in the kit. Well, where's the, there it is. All right, that still moves well. Now this is mounts with 3 25 millimeter screws. This one up here needs a washer, so it doesn't, escape this idler arm. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to save myself a little time. Oh, this is the spring. But I'm going to put the UBIS hot end in now because I want to show you one feature of this that could frustrate you later if you don't do it now. Okay. So I could just install this on this Y arm right now, but I know that one of the unique things about this is on the inside here, there's actually this little clip that coincides with this this little mark right here. So when you pop it in there, it's going to be kind of hard to get in. So let me take that out. There. See how it kind of opened up a little bit? And now that won't fall out. It's on that little piece. So, turn this around. Now we're ready to go on the Y arm. So it's going to go here, just like that, with 2 25 millimeter M3 screws. And it's going to go through this panel and into the motor. I want to get the medium motor, or the larger one. I only say medium because we sell 3 types here. There we go, there we go. All right. Now, before I put the idler on here, I've got the drive gear, and I want to make sure that the set screw, there's only one, aligns with the hole. So, well, I've already made a mistake. I need to loosen this to get that drive screw on. Might even have to take one side out. It's almost there. There it goes. All right. Okay, so now that this is fairly tight, I might as well get it all dialed just the way I like it. Very tight. Again, just finger tight and then maybe a quarter turn. So that appears right. Now I can look straight down on this before I you know, tie it in here to its location on the shaft. Where's my Allen wrench? There it is. Now we send one with you for this, and you will need to get the end. I mean, you can get it tight with your just finger tight, but when it goes to tighten this, you want to get it pretty good. But again, this is one of those that will strip, so just maybe 1/8 of a turn beyond. Now I'm feeling right now, I even hear it a little bit, that this plastic, like I said, there's a little bit of slop in some of these holes. So I'm going to back this off just a little bit. I'm going to push down. It's just one of those technique things. I'm going to push down and make sure this mounts lower in the hole so it doesn't interfere with it. There's always a trade-off between tolerance and cost and, you know, manufacturing time. Now it's not, I can tell it's not interfering at all now. So yeah, so that you might watch that when you install it to make sure. I always test things before I bolt everything together as much as I can. So we're looking good there. Now I can put this top idler in. And this one's a little bit tricky because you got to get the screw in the right hole here. I'm going to tension it a little bit. Because you have to compress this screw, it kind of fights with you a little bit. There it goes. Okay. You know what, I'm realizing I could go in even tighter on this. I think that'll help. Am I over here? Okay. Alright, so that's on. Feeling good and tight. I don't know on the tension on that yet, but there's our extruder. So let's move on to what? The fan mount? The fan shroud assembly. Ooh, that sounded bad. All right, so the fan shroud assembly. It's kind of neat because we have 2 fans that are already. Some of these tools. I'm making a mess here. Get this out of the way. All right. We have 2 fans here that are already put together on one connector, and so for now I can take that off. I can get that back later. And so these are, yeah, they're older fans, and I'm utilizing the stock I have, but they work pretty good. So this is the fan shroud. So this is going to be covered, and it's like this. So I noticed a little blue tape there. So it's going to be on here like this and covered with this little guy. So we're going to do that. But before we get this ready to mount, we actually have to put the fans in here and orient them properly here. It's like this. So this is how they should look when you put them in here. And this wire will actually, there we go. See how it kind of skirts the side of this fan a little bit and sticks in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I realize it's kind of hard to see on this video, but again, I'm doing this for entertainment purposes, and if you want to try to have this be useful to you, I don't know if that's going to work out. Anyway, so I'm looking right now. The two holes at the top, they go through this void. The two holes at the bottom, they actually go through the top two holes on the bottom fan. So we put in a hold down, just a simple hold down for the fan. If you were to look at it from the front as you're putting it together, it's actually the back of the fan, but it's the bottom left of the top fan and the bottom left of the bottom fan. They have a little, hope that works. There. All right. So obviously the fans have to, you know, one fan goes to the hot end and the other one goes to the cooling the part, and one goes to the hot end. So yeah, I would want that to go on correct. So now I got to check which was right. Okay, there we go. Now that makes sense. I just had my front cover flipped. Instead of trying to do all of these at once, I think I'm just going to get one started. It's kind of, you think it's hard to put one of these together. Try putting it together where you're in a very confined space and have to get, you know, useful commentary out at the same time and have it be shown and seen by the camera. You end up with kind of a mishmash of like, mildly useful stuff. But sometimes with editing, you can make it a little bit better. So I'm sure there'll be times where we kind of fast forward some boring parts. But there you go. So we've put the sensor on the extruder with the motor, and now the fan shroud. And I can deal with the wiring here a little bit later, but that wiring is going to meet up with this wiring and come up to this little hole right here that has a little zip tie hole. So we're going to do all that wiring stuff later. Right now I've got to get the bar ends, which are here and here. And there's a couple other things. Let's see. The bar ends, pretty straightforward. It's a couple of number 4 plastites, again, our trusty plastites. But before I want to explain something, the parts are symmetrical in that it is the same part twice, right? Now, down here it's going to be one way, and then down here it's going to be another way. So they're not, they don't lay identical once you put them in their bar ends. They match up with, like on this, the bar or the belt comes out low down here and it comes out high up here. We're actually going to use a belt tensioner here up high, and down here it's just going to be a loop that is zip tied off. So I think I'm going to put the loop in now and see if I can get this thing attached all at once, but we're going to try it. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Oops. So I'm going to have to break into my bag of zip ties finally. Now we're sending you more zip ties than you need, but you know, I tried to really minimize the amount of zip ties you would need in this because you get too many zip ties, it starts to look pretty sketchy. Now sometimes the way that these zip ties are put on are critical, so I'm looking. Okay, so the bulb of this is going to be pointing up. So I'm actually going to try to do that just like I did on this previous build. So you see how that bulb is pointing straight up? Sometimes that ends up being key. So that's plenty tight. Now, the part we've all been waiting for. Can I get these in here without breaking anything? So it's going to be a tight fit on some of these prints, and that's just the nature of the prints. So I did not feel that go in all the way, but it started to seep, and I do want it to go in all the way, so I'm going to get a small hammer. I think I had one in here a minute ago. No, I don't see it. So I'm going to grab a hammer and do this like I want you to do it. Very, very gingerly. So I'll be right back. Aha! Faster than I thought. It was laying right there. So, tap, 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 not pound. Just little taps. I'm hoping. So let's see. If I line up the holes down here, it should tell me how close I am. Not close. I think I got to go even further. Yep. All right. So I'm actually going to, this is the weakest part of the table, so I'm going to actually go down on the ground and tap it there. See how we're doing. Good. Almost. Oh yeah, that bottom one aligns. I think the top one just needs a little coaxing. So almost there. Okay, looks good. I think we've almost got it, but not quite. See, I'm looking for the holes to line up. Looks like they do. One nice thing about this belt being this way is you can get it all tight before you attach it to that Y-arm. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you since I think we're there, but I want to be able to have the space to work with my belt tensioner. We're going to do it like this. So the belt tensioner, little bitty guy. There's a couple of them, I think, yeah. You take an M3, and it should hand press in there. An M3 nut. Hand presses in the one side. There it goes. And I believe we call out, let me look. These are, oh, I see. They're 22 again. So, looks like more of the beautiful stainless steel. So they will go through these holes. Now, funny thing about these holes, that is a long screw, but that's awesome. Whoop! On this bar end, there's one that looks like a hole, and there's one that does not look like a hole. It looks like a slot with kind of a funny shaped hole in it. So yeah, we did that so that it could be used both on both ends. So I may have to get my drill out here just to open up that hole instead of doing it by hand with a drill bit. I'll let this. So how this works is you're going to double over your belt at about the right spot. See how I can pull tight? And I can kind of determine where this belt tensioner is going to fall. Yeah. So I'm going to feed both. I'm going to feed it through and back because it doesn't go around a post. We're going to add our post in just a second. Okay. So with the belt against itself, see that? I can just move this along here, and it's the belt is interlocking. So I can, you know what's tough though is if I want to, there it goes. You got to work at it if you want to pull it to a different tightness because the teeth are kind of interfering. All right, that's looking pretty good. So what am I going to use for my post in there to hold that little loop of belt? I'm going to use a piece of filament if I can find one. I bet I can. I guess it could be any color, but you have clear in yours. But check this out. If you just put a little piece of filament in here and pull, that filament will hold that sufficiently tight. So I'm going to just cut off the ends, and then I will put the nuts back in here. So I know it's kind of a lot of trouble to go through for a belt clip, but I've been flustered by bad, poorly designed belt clips for ages. And it's hard to design one in plastic that's going to hold up. I think I've got it though. This one is pretty slick. And I want you to be able to have the file, so if you need a new belt clip, you can just print another one. Of course, this would have been easier if I wouldn't have tried to get it so tight right off the bat. So let's see if I can get it to grab. There it goes. Ooh, love it. Now it is a plastic part that you've printed, or we've printed, so don't get carried away with the tightness. I can hear a note, like a bass. So, and this will, I think you'll have enough room, but I can cut this off a little bit. This belt doesn't need to be that long. All right, let's see how she goes. I just prefer it lines up before I start wrenching on it, you know what I mean? Let's see how it goes. So 2 of these on one side. And then 2 on the other. That one's tight. That one's tight. It looks like these are lining up pretty good. I just want to be conscious that, you know, if you over tighten, you're going to break something. So I got them started there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I like it. So all that pounding paid off. All right. Ta-da. So that's it. That's like a lot of it right there. Now, looking at travel, I got my zip tie in the wrong place, and it's limiting my travel. And I can tell already because it's not hitting the end stop. So, there's a chance I might be able to twist this, but you know what? There's a better chance if I just put another zip tie on it and align it properly. So that's why you don't want your zip ties sticking out the wrong direction. Then you won't be able to get all the travel that you want. Well, how am I going to do that? Let's see how that works. Much better. I know that it might be annoying that these little idiosyncrasies on which way a zip tie sticks makes a difference, but it's just kind of the way we've always designed. I've always wanted to get every last millimeter, and so when I know, well, if I turn a zip tie one direction or another, I'll be able to have that fit, and this whole thing can be smaller. There it goes. Now you see it's hitting. You can hear it. So, there we go. So that's something that you probably won't get in the 3D drawings if you're building from that, is that little trick. All right. So we're making good progress. And we're down to, we just done the bar end, and now we're on the Z-axis.